everyone, I'm Alex and I'm the hands behind Lovecraft Crochet. My plushies are for the anxious, depressed, autistic, and neurodivergent. Small enough to travel in a purse, backpack, diaper bag, or even your pocket. You can check out my Facebook page or TikTok to see what patterns are available and stay tuned for the new ones coming out. I also make hats, scarves, blankets, and dice bags for the tabletop gamer or dice goblin in your life. Feel free to order through the page, TikTok DMs, or via email at love.craft.crochet@gmail.com. Now, on to the segment.
Urban legends, missing heaven, hookman coming for you, missing 15 minutes. AJ wrote it, Sammy reads it, Mothman's flying at you, missing 15 minutes.
Welcome to Missing 15 Minutes, the podcast where we stare into the night sky, squint suspiciously, and me and AJ argue what we just saw. I'm Sam Rossi, reading a script written by AJ Carey, and today we've got a good one.
Yes, it is a good one.
You know, it makes me think, just reading that makes me think of the night where the lights were coming from the bridge.
No, see, I figured that out. That was people were lighting off.
Right, but at that moment in time, before you guys went down there to investigate.
No, that's fair. Every time I think about, like, strange things in the sky, I actually recall us driving up here with Nana and Bampa, I think.
Yes.
And we were going through Pennsylvania, I want to say.
Probably, yes.
Maybe West Virginia or a Virginia. One of them.
No, the mom and dad and them met up in Virginia, so.
Fair enough, but I remember just, or no, yes, that's the one time because it wasn't a plane and everything like that. I believe it was a comet or an asteroid or something, or I'm confusing it with a different night because I want to say it was Dad that was explaining that it was a comet, or Mom was.
Then they weren't in the car.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is I have fuzzy memory because I had to be like 4
or 5.
Yeah, because we weren't moving back up here. It
No.
was just a visit.
Yeah.
And when I was those ages, I can't remember most of the visits up here because the second I broke containment in North Carolina, my nose tried to kill me.
This is true. No, well, I'll tell you about the other one I remember, and I don't think you were around for it. Tonight we're heading into New York's Hudson Valley, a place known for scenic rivers, historic towns, and apparently decades of people stopping their cars in the middle of the road to stare at enormous objects floating silently overhead. You are correct. And yes, Hudson Valley is on our major road trip over New York goal on our Patreon. However, that sentence, it's not structured right.
And yes, Hudson Valley is on our major road trip over New York goal.
H, most of our road trips right now are going to be in New York.
Yes.
So why are we road tripping over New York, or are we going to have it be all over New York?
It would be all over New York. Where do you think the Hudson Valley is, Sam?
Well, right now,
I believe it's on the border of Connecticut. Delaware. No. Connecticut. Vermont? What's the state right next to New York right there? Is it Vermont or Connecticut? I always switch the two.
Brother?
Yes. Delaware and Vermont is the one that I always switch.
And
because they're
that
shaped
side,
the same, except they're kind of reflected.
No.
Then yes, it's Connecticut.
No, I'm 90% sure at that point we're at Massachusetts for that far downstate.
No, Massachusetts doesn't connect with New York.
AJ, I used to break laws, federal laws.
Hold on. Speaking of this potted plant, Sam.
I'd like to point out that the statute of limitations is up, and if they want to nail me now for drug trafficking, I would like to go to jail.
Sam, we're 5 minutes into this and we haven't even got past.
Why is it that I can't make conversations like you? You need to let me be able to do me. But no, we have to do it on AJ's timeline. I let you do whatever the fuck you want to yours. But God forbid I have a moment with our fans.
Just to let you guys know, the statute of limitations is not up. Drug trafficking does not have a statute of limitations. Not of less than 5 years.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's no statute of limitations high.
She hit me.
Good. This is a story of the Hudson Valley UFO sightings, one of the longest running, most widely witnessed UFO waves in American history.
I think the only one that is comparable outside of like just there's a UFO, like the stuff that randomly happens in New Mexico, you know, where it's like every night you see different sorts of UFOs would be, but the most comparable would probably be the Phoenix Lights, I think.
See, I was thinking there was a mass
there's
mass witnesses, because I'm not sure if it was a hallucination or not. In one of the southern countries in South America.
I remember I think you're thinking about the Belgian wave of UFOs. It's actually why the black triangles used to be called Belgian triangles. Because I remember there was a huge thing about that, which, interesting, does coincide with this. But I was thinking more like giant things that a billion people stop and just saw and then took pictures of, because they're very similar looking pictures.
Oh yeah, I'll be honest. When we get into this more, I do know a lot about it, and we can once again thank Unsolved Mysteries for that.
Unsolved Mysteries and Aunt Lou.
This is true. Thanks, Aunt Lou.
There was a lot of like history. I want to say it was History Channel, because I don't think Discovery had become what Discovery is now.
No, it was still we were watching the Hitler Channel.
Because the only thing I remember is it's called the Hitler Channel, not for any of their political views, but the fact that 90% of their programming, especially during the 2000s, was
World War.
It was either Hitler, Kennedy, or UFOs / Bigfoot.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a gander and see why so many people saw the same thing, and why the explanations are just as strange as the sightings themselves. The event itself had reports start in March of 1983 and ending in the summer of 1984, although reports did linger after, and there were some light sightings beforehand, though reported after the fact, as often is the case. You'll always find someone trying to comment first after everybody's talking about it. For instance, there's numerous reports that say the first sighting of the Westchester Boomerang was a retired NYPD officer in Kent, New York, minutes before midnight on December 31st of 1982. However, when it comes to finding any verification of that, you get jack and all. What we can verify is that the earliest newspaper we can find was the March 26, 1983 Reporter Dispatch out of White Plains, New York, which right on the front page talks about how Thursday, that'd be March 24th because it's the Saturday paper, there were over 100 calls in the police stations in Yorktown, Newcastle, Mount Kisco, Carmel, and Putnam Valley. Anything you got to say on that?
Thank you, newspapers.com. And also fuck the New York Times and many, many other newspapers who are so many. Like, you get to read the first paragraph and then it becomes a paywall. So you don't even get to see the actual article that was from, 1983.
Yep.
I hate it.
It's part of the reason why I can't finish the thing on Bill Nichols. They even have an interview with Yorktown police officer Kevin Sorvilla, giving his account. You think it was different? I said differently? Sorvilla
is what I thought, but
Sorvilla.
But you know how people's last names can be in New York.
Dude, I don't even know. That's probably Italian. So it'd be Sorvella.
That's true, but
All right, I don't know, and I apologize to this man and this officer for not knowing his name correctly.
we pronounce everything else correctly. I don't know how you're apologizing for this one.
I apologize to most people if I feel I like police officers. I hate the bad ones and the ones that don't stand up to stop the bad ones. So 98% of the officers. Sorry. That's a different episode. The witnesses in both the massive call-in as well as those interviewed described a massive V-shaped craft with lights along the edges or on the underside that was silently moving at low level. Many of the witnesses compared the size to a football field. That would be 100 yards. So yes, this initial night, as well as several more to follow for the rest of the year, had hundreds of witnesses. And these weren't people sitting outside in the middle of the desert, smoking weed and hoping for a sighting. These are police officers, commercial pilots, entire families. Groups of people pulled off on the highway to watch these like they were a surprise fireworks display. Not to mention, some sightings reportedly lasted several minutes. Long enough for people to debate whether they were witnessing a UFO, the world's worst blimp. Just going to get it out.
I noticed. Really like that L there, though.
But you understand where it was going. World's largest. World's largest. That's how that sentence goes. Honestly, eyewitnesses were remarkably consistent. They didn't describe fast-moving lights or the classic flying saucers. Instead, they described a low, deliberate movement, often hovering or gliding silently. Definitely takes a Black Hawk out of the equation.
Well, we actually talk about that because that is one of the things that was used as a debunk for it. Oh, it could have been helicopters flying information, and it's like, not really. You would hear that.
You would know they were coming before you could see them, because sound actually, anyways. Yeah, you would hear them before you saw them. All right. Many also said the objects blocked out stars, caused a deep sense of unease, or appeared to bend around the landscape. And notably, again, the lack of sound. I mean, it goes without saying this would rule out conventional aircraft, unless aviation suddenly decided stealth helicopters should be massive. Yes, eventually we may do a black helicopter episode.
Black helicopters are a conspiracy theorist wet dream. They are helicopters, but they are completely silent, and they are usually black. They are the ones that, people go, and then the government came after I saw the Bigfoot, but they were in super quiet helicopters.
So the Men in Black.
Yep, they use them too.
They use the
sedans and black helicopters. That's what they.
Okay.
They're sensible.
Okay, I can see that. I
can't. You can't make a silent running helicopter.
You really can't. You can't make a silent running
aircraft either, but you can make sound suppressed ones depending on, because like a stealth bomber is very, but it moves very fast. That's another reason why conventional aircraft is either it would run this slow, but you would hear, holy shit, you would hear it, or it would go fast and you would maybe just hear a light.
It's like the difference between a riding lawnmower and a car.
Yeah.
See, I'll hillbilly it out for everybody. Can't even. You got really no argument with that one.
That's a great comparison.
Authorities and skeptics eventually offered a few explanations, and I'm sure you have one of these in your head now.
Or we've talked about it already.
Probably talked about it already because this is something I actually know about. Thank you again, Aunt Lou. One popular theory was small private planes flying in formation, doing some nighttime flights, which the split into experimental military aircraft theory. But of course, That has not been confirmed, just denied. So you know how that goes. I don't know. White Plains is White Plains Air Force Base.
Oh, that's actually talked about in a moment.
Okay.
There is officially an actual answer. It's not just denial.
Probably the weirdest that was put out was that these were indeed slow-moving advertising airplanes. Even though no one ever saw them, like, trailing anything, advertising anything, doing anything besides just sit there and make us scared.
They weren't sitting there. They were slowly moving.
Like, okay, my question is, slowly moving like when you look up and you see that airplane and he's slowly moving across the sky because he's so far away, or moving slowly like we're stuck in traffic in the middle of Virginia?
Well, that was stop and go traffic.
Well, you understand what I mean, where we would...
Well, I'm going to also tell you a secret. Aircrafts can't do a stop and go while flying.
I don't know. Here's jets do touch and goes while flying, and then do the...
And if they were Harriers, people would have fucking heard them.
You'd know, and if you know, you know. But again, that it was a series of planes or helicopters falls apart until you remember that witnesses claimed the objects appeared solid. They were much larger than planes, and all of them were flying far too low and slow for typical flight patterns. The skeptical view generally goes into something AJ likes to bring up in these scripts, be it ghosts or aliens. Misidentification from expectation. Once people expect UFOs, they're more likely to interpret ambiguous light as something extraordinary. Memory also plays a role with stories growing over time. Details sharpen, crafts get bigger. All I gotta say is that 2 fucking headlights in the sky, and you could see it from Barneveld. I was on the phone with Amanda. From the trailer park behind the gas station on 12.
Yeah.
All the way to our house because I was laying out on the bridge. And you can see headlights in the sky. 2 hours. Slowly moved across the sky. I still don't know what the fuck it was.
Could have been one of the galaxies? It's in the plane.
No, I don't think so. Because I've never seen a plane where the lights didn't change. They were legitimately headlights. White light. 2 of them right there.
Was it drugs? It could have been drugs.
Not at that time. I wasn't on drugs. I was nice and clean and narrow. Except for alcohol.
Well, then you weren't that narrow.
The problem at the end is sightings occurred over multiple years across multiple towns with thousands of witnesses, with many accounts happening before the story gained media attention. It's pretty hard for mass hysteria to file police reports when the masses aren't hysterical yet. Now, time to pull the rug out from Sam.
You're welcome.
What rug? I've already said this has to be something that is not normal right now.
Well, that's why I said it's time to pull the rug out. Your rug is that it's not normal. Here's the normal explanation. I'm sorry.
Now time to pull the rug out from Sam. Still, nah. Because, yeah, the August 25th, 1984 issue of the New York Times gave the answer. A state trooper tracked the lights all night, and according to Sergeant Kenneth V. Sparrow...
Spiro? Sparrow? It could go either way. Spyro?
Spyro! The deputy followed them all the way to Stormville Airport and even spoke to some pilots who were just out practicing their formations at night. You think that would be the end of it. But there's a lot of people that say that can't be the case. At least not from earlier reportings. As neighbors of the airfield said there was zero activity the weeks before and that the places only came in earlier that day. You think planes?
I think that's supposed to say planes. That the planes had only come in earlier that day.
And the planes had only come in earlier that day. See, I had a moment where I'm like, that does not sound right.
I understand. No, you were correct.
Anyways, no, I want to believe that it was something not supernatural, but extraterrestrial. But I cannot fathom, at least in 2026, us having the stealth capability of Star Trek.
You mean Star Trek? It says Star Trek.
Now he's, Jesus Christ. Anyways, it should be noted that many of the people who did report seeing the UFOs that night did clearly identify it as planes flying information compared to the rigged single structure of the past. Yes, Sam, this is a double rug pull because this still doesn't have a conclusive answer.
Haha.
Yeah. Oh, and not to feed the sentiment, the spokesman for the Eastern Region part of the FAA said, I swear to God, what would we care about a UFO? Seriously?
Yeah. Literally, when questioned, they're like, why the fuck would why should we care about a UFO? And it's like, well, in your airspace, that's actually a pretty big fucking deal there, buddy.
Yeah, that conclusive answer. I already knew it wasn't a conclusive answer.
We were past that. We're at the FAA going, why would we care about
Oh, yeah,
a UFO?
we are on the FAA going, why would we care about... It's your airspace.
Like, at a very base level, it's your airspace.
It's your job to care. It's just a fascinating thing that they didn't even want to verify that the night flyers were indeed there to calm people or anything like that. But hey, that's the rub of the 80s. Have a cigarette and let citizens wonder what's flying over their treetops. I think that's what makes this series of sightings so compelling, though. It's how ordinary the circumstances were. No desert testing range nearby like in New Mexico. No secret bases. If we don't count the Montauk base, of course. Just suburban New York where the strangest things people usually see. These cases sits in the uncomfortable gray zone of being too consistent to dismiss casually, too poorly documented to prove, and too weird to fully explain. Which frankly is where most famous UFO cases live. Although it does say something of Ages not giving his know-it-allism a stretch. So, what were the Hudson Valley UFOs? The Westchester Boomerangs, as it were.
Sounds like a good name for a...
band. Punk rock.
I was thinking basketball team.
Ooh, basketball. Baseball.
Baseball.
Baseball. Right. Misidentified craft. Experimental technology. An elaborate coincidence of lights, angles, and expectations? Or something genuinely unknown cruising quietly over New York while everyone else just trying to get home? The truth we may never know. But for thousands of witnesses, the memory remains vivid. Proof that sometimes the most unsettling mysteries don't happen in remote deserts. They can happen right in your backyard. All right, first off, Catskills are part of the Appalachian Mountains. So, just throwing that out there.
Well, yes, technically they are. Technically we are also part of the Appalachian Plateau. But the point is, I wrote this episode to be a nice quickie, something just we could get through, 10 minutes. Maybe there'd be a couple of minutes left at the end.
All right, just so you know, at this moment in time, it is 37:45. I will get that down. I will let you know at the... You will see what this is at the end.
This is one of those episodes you need to hear the unedited for because there's nothing that involves... I wonder... You get to hear Sam yell at me.
Anyways,
final thoughts.
All right, so I have actually seen different things all over New York State.
Right.
Different places. My personal favorite is when we were out in Windfall, and you could look up and see, well, for 3 years straight, we saw clouds and rain.
Not true. Usually the first night we had a very nice, it's one of the reasons I loved going up there myself.
But yes, it's also a dark town.
There's very little light pollution, so you're actually, when you look up in this beautiful little valley, you get to see the sky.
Thanks for missing 15 minutes with us. Do all the socials, join our Patreon, see our old episodes in a new way on YouTube. Those are the AJ edits. And appease the great algorithm by engaging in comments, liking, and sharing us around. We like to share. Sharing is caring. We really do want to do some epic road tripping. We really want to do some epic road tripping in New York and go to all these spots for all those to see who haven't. So also peep the Patreon. I don't know what AJ just said. I'm Sam Rossi.
And I'm AJ Carey.
Later, y'all.
Living 15.
Keep on carrying on.
C-A-R-E-Y.
Right.
Because
Carry On Productions.